Okay, so this is the lesson opener for 6th grade. It's talking about engineering and how to solve problems, and it's talking about what needs influence the development of mosquito net. So I scrolled down. You guys might have seen the picture of the mosquito netting ahead of it, right here. Scroll down. Does the solution to an engineering problem have to address every need of its users? Explain your answers. This is an opinion. So an engineering problem needs to address most of the needs of the user. However, it might not address all. It is important that it tries to address as many problems as possible. Does a successfully engineered solution to a problem have to be electronic? So looking at this netting, it's not electronic. So I would say it does not have to be electronic. Engineering is solving a problem with technology, but technology just means that it is made by a human. It does not have to be electronic. The mosquito net is technology because it is made by a human, even though it is not electronic. All right, you can pause if you need to and move to the next question. We're going to go to exploration 1. How are we relating science, engineering, and technology? Okay, so engineering is solving problems. Technology is the tool designed to solve the problem. So how does science, engineering, and technology, how do they work together? Watching a video to explore technology and learn about volcanoes. I'm going to play the video and then discuss and review the video to add different information about what's happening. Scientists use several engineered items to carry out their research. What are some of the items? We can actually see the items before the video even starts. So even without the video, we can see that he's wearing a suit and that he has a cable to protect him. So the person is wearing a suit that won't catch fire to protect them He is also holding a cable. This might be used to get data or just to keep him from falling into the volcano. So even just looking, we can see that. All right, they use these engineered tools like that to observe the world. They can have clothing, vehicles, and breathing devices, microscopes and satellites. That's all different types of technology. So many of you have used a microscope before, but this is talking about microscopes to see objects too small, a digital scale to weigh something, and these are called beakers, and those beakers are just little gas. You can put gas and liquid inside of the beakers, and it's used as measurement to kind of measure a liquid and see how much space it takes up. What are the basic principles that the engineers are trying to, they're going to have to know this to design the tool, okay? To be able to use a scientific tool, do you have to understand electric currents? Yes, because you don't want to get electrocuted. The physical properties of metal, yes, to make sure you don't cause something that will explode. Influence of gravity on objects, yes, you want to make sure that if you're putting objects together, they have similar gravitational forces, or if you don't want it to be something where it's going to fall out of your hand. Physical and chemical properties, yes, because if you're not watching the chemical properties, that's what can cause the explosion. Okay, 2 tools in the lab classroom, and what they do. I'm going to use the microscope and the glassware. Okay, the glassware is used to measure volume. This means it measures liquids and gases and how much space they take up. The other object is a microscope. They are used to observe objects that people can't see with their normal eyesight. How would not having those tools affect your ability to carry out a lab assignment? Okay, if I didn't have those tools, I would not know about the object because I couldn't see it, and I wouldn't be able to write down an accurate measurement. Right? You need those tools in order to be accurate. So to build a car, you have to understand a lot of science and math. We're talking about aerodynamics. So if you see there's like this wind and fog coming up and over. So how does the air work? It's talking about focus and energy and gravity, energy transmissions. You have to know about humans, how to make a safe exterior and interior. So you have to define your problem. And when you're making a new car, there's so many different problems that can come up. You have to make sure it's tested over and over and over again so that it's safe for someone to buy and drive in. So we have to complete what kind of question it is and what is the design concern. So they give us an example here. If it's chemical pollutants that they're emitted by a car, how can you make them smaller? Like, you do not want chemical pollutants coming out of a car. That's an environmental concern. How can steel and other raw materials be obtained? So we're trying to say if this is environmental, what is the other piece that we could need? Do we want it to be, what are our options? A resource, a consumer demand, or even something that is a safety concern? Well, it's really safety if you're talking about raw materials being obtained. Actually, resource availability, because you have to figure out how much steel you need, right? How do different parts of the car withstand a collision? That's a safety concern. How can wireless connectivity be added with the car? That's something that a consumer, which is like a person who wants to buy it, that's what they would demand, right? So how can reliable connectivity be added? That's what the consumer would want. Let's check, we're all set. Solving food storage. Talking about how to use a can and canned foods, that they were fresher, and then they used to can foods because there was no refrigeration yet. So they also created the can opener. So they're talking about all these different modern designs, like being able to seal a can. And so they want to know about that ring pull for cans and why did they have this design change. So why do they now have this little ring at the very top that you can pull? So the design was changed for a few reasons. The first reason is because it is safer so that a person doesn't cut their hands. It's also easier to use for people who have a hard time using their hands and using a can opener. All right, and then it says exploration 2. Move on to exploration 2. They're doing systems and video game systems, and we're going to talk about all the different parts of a video game system, which should be really interesting. They a set of parts, components that interact. Some are like different and can include working with doctors, can include working with video game systems, and can include large slopes like dams and locks and different aspects of water. They often use models and systems. So they have a model right here above. Together they form a system with, and then we have to think, is there an input? Is there an output? Not necessarily. They're talking about boundaries. They have outer boundaries. At the higher and lower levels, water moves through the lock that can start as a blank and end as a blank. So it would start, you're inputting, your ending is what you output. So what goes in is input, what goes out is output. All right. System models can be very complex. This is about earthquakes. This is the testing model. You can see this one's earthquake resistant. This one is obviously not. It's falling. And there's different reasons that you could use something or not use it at all. They use scales to kind of decide how to do this. So basically, if they have a scale and it's 1/20th of the model, you're trying to figure out what kind of damage would that do in real life. So if it's 1/20th, you're going to be multiplying it by 20. Okay, so an error of 2 centimeters. How does that cause a significant problem? Well, the scale is 1/20th. So if the scale is 1/20th and it looks like a 2 centimeter error, you have to multiply the 2 centimeters by 20 to see what the real error is. It would be significant and harmful because it's not just 2 centimeters, it's actually 40 centimeters of damage because 20 times 2 equals 40. So you're basically showing that you can use that scale to help you and really see the damage that you really could get of 40 centimeters. Okay. Different models meet different needs. There's bridges, mosquito nets, different seat belts, airbags. It's going to go over what are the benefits of testing and why would you test using materials for automotive crashes. If you watch the crash testing video, you want to make sure you watch it. And it's saying what are benefits of doing these crash tests on the cars, right? They don't put people in danger. That's true because they use dummies. They allow engineers to test new designs. That's true. You can make sure see which one works the best. The type and speed of the crash can be controlled. Yes, remember they can do slow motion or they can have you go really fast. There's very little cost. Well, we can't necessarily pick that because we don't really know how much it costs. It can actually be very costly. What solutions do you propose if a car is rated poorly? Okay. If a car is rated poorly in a crash test, it cannot be sold. The person should go back and look at all the materials that the car is made out of and try to find stronger and better materials so that it can pass the crash tests. Alright, so then we're going to go on to exploration 3. That's going to be a new video.